Hello, welcome to tutorial 17, and we're continuing making our Minecraft and using Python with a panda. And crucially, what we've got to do is sort out the following bug. Um, if I create some snow blocks, which is fine, using our new functional inventory down the bottom, or hotbar down the bottom, and then press 1, I can now make some Ruby blocks, but there's a problem because if I now make what looks like a Christmas cake, some more snow blocks, they're going to be stained horrible red, which is kind of an interesting effect actually. We'll try and remember that for later on. But why is it happening? So let's go and sort out that bug, and then before I forget, I promised a couple of videos ago to show you how to make the entire terrain subject to an earthquake, so I'll show you that. So firstly, um, let's sort out that bug. So I need to open mesh terrain. And it's quite simple, but last video I was rather tired and couldn't see it. Or rather, I think my tiredness was more active in creating the bug in the first place. Okay, so here we are. So we're in the generate block function in our mesh terrain system module, and down here, there we are, line 110. Yeah, we're just saying, oh, does this block type have a coded color, a vector4 object? If it does, then we treat it slightly differently to an ordinary block type, which doesn't have its own coded color information. And what I've done is, here's my mistake, where I'm extending the colors using this list comprehension stuff down here. I've done that twice. So what's essentially happening is we are like stretching or borrowing or projecting the color information, let's say, of a Ruby block onto whatever next block that you make. And so you have to make, a few blocks before you've kind of cleared the colors. So the bug won't show up if you're just using the same kind of blocks for a while, which is the behavior that we saw, and which is confusing. It's very confusing when a bug doesn't stay, but sorry, instead of staying put, disappears. Okay, so and then reappears again. So all we have to do is take out that first model colors extension function call. So that should only happen once after we've added a random tint or shade to each individual element of our red, green, blue color channels. Okay, so let's go back to main. Back to main and run our code. And we'll try the exact same experiment, only if we're given some Ruby. We are. Okay. So stop the terrain generating by pressing G. You can toggle that off, on and off. And then, yeah, let's make some Christmas cake. What's that? At 6. I also want to make the highlighter kind of go, so on the hotbar, go black maybe, because yellow, I'm struggling to kind of see that. So 4 is now the Ruby. So that's working correctly and fine, even though we've changed some of the code. But now we go back to our Christmas cake, and whoops, and I accidentally mined something. And look, it's got its perfect color. Wonderful. Okay, so now we have proper control over our block types as we're mining them, and we can save and load those block types intact correctly, so you can save your work. Okay, right, done. Number 1 done. Did I have like a little checklist? Yes, I did. Investigate color staining bug. Done and solved. Yeah. let's just add that. So oops, I've got caps lock on. II plus solve color staining. Done. That's great. Right, earthquakes. Earthquakes, here we go. So let's just close this panel down. In our main module, we have an update loop, which is our game loop, an update function. So this is iterating around and around and doing things such as generating our terrain if that's switched on. And calling bump wall, so checking that the player's not bumping into walls and things. So what we could do is, where should we do this? Maybe after, well, let's try it just before we bump into the wall, so here. So let's just make some comment decoration so we can see what's going on. So, earthquake experiment. So what we're going to do is, or try to do, is iterate through all of our subsets. And remember, a subset is like a chunk of terrain. So it's got lots of blocks. And as the terrain is generated, we move from one subset to the next. So what we could do is, going through those subsets, we could then ask each block to be lifted up a little while using a sine function, so that different subsets would be raised at a slightly different time, so we get like a wave effect. Let's try that anyway. So first we want to go for H, I'll call it, in subsets. So where are our subsets? Our subsets are what do you call it? Objects belonging to the terrain class. So we can say for H in terrain subsets. There they are. So we've got hold of those. So H will represent in order every subset that we've currently got. And we can say H dot Y. So that's the height, the physical height of our subset. Now, do I want to add on? Let's just say equals hy plus, that seems right, plus math sine. So I'm assuming we've got math already imported, have we? Nope. Anyway, we'll see if we need to import that later on if it doesn't start working. So now, yeah, we want to get hold of the index of this terrain subset. So terrain dot subsets. Now we're going to use the index function, and then you pass in this reference to the individual subset that belong to the list that we're iterating over. So this little how do I get hold of the index number? I couldn't do it in a previous video. I forgot how to do it. I was so close. I forgot this thing. You have to pass in this reference to the individual object as an argument. Okay, so there we go. Plus, now what we want to do is we want to add a new amount, because this number is going to stay the same. So its height is going to be fixed. The sine function is going to have a fixed number there. So we want to increase a number, like time, or an independent variable in here that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't matter how big it gets, because the sine wave is going to be periodic, meaning it's repeating in cycles. So we'll call this earth counter, for an earthquake counter. So that doesn't exist. So let's just create that before our update loop. There we go. Oh, we've got a count there, but this count is to do with the terrain generation, and we kind of reset it and things, so we need a new one. So we've got earth counter equals 0, and now I'm in the mood to not have spaces between my operators and values and things. So earth counter is like that. Maybe I'll need to add that to my global function, so that this earth counter is going to be the same as the one used inside the function, local to the function. And then inside our earthquake experiment, the first thing we'll do is say earth counter plus equals 1, so it gets bigger each time. And now what we need to do is multiply the result of this sine function by the distance we want the blocks to kind of move, if they do move. So I'll just put 0.5 so far. Right, let's run that and see if that works. And then when it doesn't work, I'll look at my prepared code and see what I did in the past. It is running. And we've got an earthquake. Wonderful. Which is pretty impressive. Let's just press G. Oh, so I've now turned off terrain generation, and it's cycling really fast. So we want this to cycle a little bit slower, don't we? So we need to work out what's the arithmetic for that. How do we work with our sine function to get that going? Whoa. But I thought this was really cool. You could, I don't know what circumstance you might have this happen. Maybe just randomly at different times, or maybe if you go to a weird area, or if you're fighting a weird boss or something. Anyway, let's quit out of that. So how to slow down that wave? Well, if you think about it, the timing, the frequency, I guess, of that is determined by what we put in here. Now this number, remember, is just a subset number, which is going to be constant, so it's not increasing. And that just determines that neighbouring subsets, chunks of land, are offset slightly. So that's why you have like a wave. If we didn't put this in, every single subset would start at the same position, so it'd just be the whole world going up and down like that. But if we offset it slightly by its index number, you get a nice kind of like wave, I think. Now, actually, this will be interesting. If we load a map in, the way that we've done that, I don't think preserves the order of subsets. So you'll just have random blocks going up and down. We'll have a look at that. Anyway, this number, the earth counter, is the counter that slows up or slows down. So I guess we could just slow it down here. 10% slower. Or 10 times slower, I should say. 10% slower. Now this number, remember at the end, is the kind of the amplitude. So let's replace these numbers with earthquake, or could I, because we're inside brackets here, I can split this over a line so we can continue to see everything. Earth amp. So here we can say earth amplitude equals 0.5, and this number should be earth frequency, earth freak, there we go, which doesn't exist, so I'll make it there, equals 0.1, good. So this just needs to go after the declaration of that variable. So there we go. So index, yeah, earth counter, earth amplitude. Let's see if we've now slowed it down a little bit. Oh, you know the fact that it went a lot faster. Whoa. This is really cool, but completely wrong. And well done if you anticipated this. Okay, so I was just trying to talk about the fact that what was I just talking about? Oh yes, pressing G, i.e. stopping generating the terrain. Wow, look at this. This is so cool. makes the effect, the frequency of our earthquake change. So if I turn on terrain generation again, that slows down everything. We should um, we should dissolve that out, cancel that out by using time, delta time. So I'll try that also. What have I done wrong there? The earth counter. Yeah, I'm just going up more slowly. Earth frequency. I'm using Earth amplitude there of 0.5. Oh, I'm not. I'm perhaps not timesing everything by the Earth frequency. So let's just add 1 there, and let's multiply the inside argument. Oh, it's not going to be the whole thing. No, it's still going to be the Earth counter, isn't it, by 0.5. Sorry, I should use... Oh, 0. Oh, I think in my prepare code I had 0.5 here. So let's just keep that to... Okay, let's just keep that. Earth freak. There we go. We won't multiply anything there. Let's just see if it was just the numbers that was affecting things. And then, what was I doing? Oh yes, we want to times a whole thing by by delta time. Just that thing. Times time dot dt. And so we can get hold of time delta time as long as, which we would have done if we're using any of this, Ursina. So Ursina is where we get time delta time from, just like the place we get the Ursina entity from, etc. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, so that we can see the time delta time. Can I just do that? Yeah, it's a little bit ugly, but that's fine. And run it again. I've just thought I'm doing all of this in order to avoid making the inventory panel, aren't I? Is that what's happening here? That's moving a tiny amount. It's all slightly offset, which is upsetting. But now if I press G, oh, it does go faster again. So time delta time isn't having the effect I needed. I think, unless it's a smoothness. Now just while we're in here and it's not too distracting, you'll notice that, well, especially when the subsets were like far apart, we were nevertheless walking on a very stable land. And the stable land is described in the terrain dictionary. So the terrain dictionary's values of where a block isn't being shifted up and down according to this sine wave. It's only the visual subsets model which is lifting and falling. So if you wanted to affect the player, you'd either have to change the entire or the specific blocks height, not the subsets height, because the terrain dictionary is full of block information, block data. Or I think what I would do is in the bump system where you're checking the height, you could then go and find the subsets height and then add that on. So you're just changing one thing, i.e. where the player's standing, to get up and down. Anyway, that's if you wanted to develop or are interested in this earthquake stuff. So what happens when I kind of mine during an earthquake? Look at that. It's kind of interesting. Okay, let's just look at my prepare code. Oh yeah, I've also got it in when the mouse is locked, so that when you go into the inventory mode, i.e. press E, and you've unlocked the mouse, then it's no longer shifting. Oh look, I haven't done the, it's not SY S dot Y plus or H dot Y plus. Terrain subsets index, that's the same. Plus, yeah, plus our earthquake counter. Oh, we're moving by 0.1. Okay. Oh, so it was just a number I was getting wrong. So we're moving, the amplitude is 0.1. The frequency is 0.5, and that should be the same. Having it, the only difference here is I'm multiplying this number by half. And it will be immediately obvious to someone who's clear in their mathematics that these are either very different, the way I'm doing it, or exactly the same. In my head, I think they're exactly the same. But no. Oh, okay. Which means they're probably not. They're almost certainly not the same. Okay, but we are adding on delta time. So let's just take off delta time for a second, or rather, let's just comment that out. It wasn't having a great effect anyway, as far as I could see. So we want to take off this. There we go. Oh, which is nicer, which means, oh, all of our indents kind of lined up. This is a miracle. And possibly a sign that we're on the right track. Okay. So let's run this. We're 21 minutes in, so I should at least get, okay, the inventory panel up. Okay, that's much nicer. If I press G, that speeds up. Oh, because I did take delta time off. There's a tiny little gap there. Yeah, this is kind of fun. This is nice. Let's try and load a map. I can't remember. Oh dear. Oh, because June test 1 isn't there. Let's just go and yoink one from here. So if I open or reveal in Finder, I've made in preparation just now a new map. Where is it? June test map. There we go. So I'll copy that, and then we'll open up this guy's folder, i.e. the project folder that is on the GitHub repository. If you wanted to download all of this, the link is in the description. Reveal in Finder. So you'll now be able to find my version of that, which will overwrite your June test 1 land file. Remember, because we haven't got a system yet in our UI for choosing different saved terrains, but that'll be nice to do fairly frequently. Fairly soon. Okay, so let's just go and have a look at that. Oh yes, and I was just I just forgot why we're doing this. We're doing this because I want to see if I was right in saying that the subset order, the index order, is completely different when we load in the a different map. Okay, I'll just switch off the terrain generation. Oh, another use for this might be sea, might be water, which is something we haven't talked about yet. Having water, I mean, we need trees before we get to water, I think, but it'd be interesting to, and biomes probably, and then have a look at making water. And while I'm talking about it, making this kind of playable, what I think we need is to sort out, yeah, a UI system to go and save and load different maps, because we don't want to keep overwriting things or make it easy to overwrite things, because that would be annoying. But since now we can control what items or what block type, what materials we're building with, that's making this rather playable. The other thing would be, yeah, when we are actually mining, to have, I don't know what you call them, but like sub-blocks or particles that you can go and collect, and those when you run over them, maybe a little sound, and then those appear in your inventory. And of course we've got to develop the inventory a bit more, so that yeah, if I went to like 8 on the hotbar there, I shouldn't be able to build now because my hands are empty. Right, so let's press L. That should load. So it is loading now, and so the earthquake will be applied. to this new terrain. Now it's quite large, so it's taking a few moments. Oh, but that's really cool. So the way this gets loaded isn't by chunk, isn't by subset, where if you where ordinarily as you lay terrain, that's what happens. So you get these large parts or these subsets moving up and down together. But now each block um, has allegiance with a subset, and the subsets are kind of distributed across the land, which kind of looks cool. I think it looks a lot better if you've got a couple of layers, so you don't see the gap beneath. Right, let's stop playing. Okay, I suppose it's a good sign that I want to keep like playing and walking around. So our project is developing somewhere. Okay, so we can close down my prepare code. Oh, earthquake, done. I don't know if you heard that goosey kind of honking in the background. That was the chihuahua, who's sleeping over there, or napping over there. Okay, done. Very happy. Okay, so inventory panel creation, and then toggling the behavior. Okay, so I'll be very happy if we can just draw it, align the hotspots correctly, and toggle behavior so it disappears when we're not using inventory. So we need our inventory system. There she is. Right. So presumably up here at the start of our module, we've got our inventory hotbar. Is this the place to make our inventory panel? Main panel. So I need to basically, let's just copy this and then fiddle around with the values. So first of all, let's call it the IPAN. IPAN, that's a great name. Inventory panel. So every place I see hotbar, I've just changed to IPAN. So it's a quad. Its parent is the camera UI, so that takes it into the 2D world of user interface. And now it's scale. So the X scale, I guess, so that's the width, could be the same as the hotbar. So I don't want to use these magic numbers. I want to derive it from my hotbar. So hotbar dot scale X, that's the width. Now it's Y. Oh, again, we could copy the hotbar's Y, scale Y, and then just multiply that by the rows. So IPAN rows. So that doesn't exist yet. So IPAN rows equals 1, 2, let's have 4 or 3. Since we're dealing with 9 across, let's have 3. And I can't remember how many you have in Minecraft, or whether you have to be at a chest or things. You can see how infrequently I play it. I can't remember. That's what I need to do in preparation for the next video. I'll go and play some Minecraft. So rows 3. Okay, good. And now we're positioning it on the Y. So this is the very bottom, or almost the very bottom. So actually, we could do it relative to the hot bar again. So that's where the hotbar is. So that's a hotbar position. So let's just say hot. Oh, it's just hotbar Y, isn't it? Okay. Which already exists. So I don't need all of that. So that's the hotbar Y. Plus goes up. Is that right in UI coordinates? Plus goes up. Plus, well, the minimum amount we need is half our panel's height. Let's just try that. So no, ipan scale y divided by 2. So that should be flush with our hotbar. Let's make it a light grey. Right, let's go and see if we've got a kind of squarish panel immediately above our hotbar. We have, almost. It's not quite right, is it? It's like here, you can see with our empty empty hotspot, it's just half, interestingly enough, half a half the hotbar off. So that kind of makes sense. Yes, because we've added half of its scale. We need to add on half of the hotbar's scale because the hotbar Y is halfway down. Yeah, is the center point of our hotbar. Hotbar scale Y divided by 2. Let's put those bits in brackets. So that would be immediately above it. And we want to like leave a gap, presumably, of like 1 row thick. So let's call this ipan gap. It will be, excuse me, let's just say basic position equals this. So the hotbar's Y plus half of each of the heights of the hotbar and the inventory panel. So that's nice and flush. Equals, so it wants to be equals ipan's basic position, or basic pos Y, I'll call that basic pos Y. Now I want to call it base pos Y. Base pos Y plus, now we want a gap. So we'll call that the ipan gap. I'm adding on, notice, I could just use a temporary variable called gap, but I think it's slightly better practice to contain these or structure these within this object, the inventory panel. So if we wanted another thing called a gap, it won't get confused with this property. And this just wants to be the height of our hotbar. So hotbar dot scale Y, and not halved, but the whole thing. So now if we run it, we should have like a little window, the height of the hotbar above the hotbar and between our panel. Brilliant. So good. So the next thing, we need to switch off the earthquake so we don't go insane testing this. So let's just do that down before the update function. We'll just say earthquake on equals false. Now, of course, we can just say earthquake experiment. If the earthquake is on, and remember that resolves to true, we don't have to explicitly write true, but if earthquake is on, then you can do all of this. Fantastic. We've got a delta time to go and play with if we ever develop, and we'll develop the earthquake. And if you develop the earthquake before I get to it, which is probably going to be the case, post any interesting results on the issues page of the GitHub repository, which you can find a link to in the description, or you could put it in the comments of this video. Any ideas or anything that's happened, that'd be equally fine. I'll be interested to see what happens. Okay, so inventory system. So I'll be happy if we get the hotspots there. So here's the hotspot class, and if we go down, we should have some for loops, which is creating the hotspots. So again, there we are. There's the items. So let's copy this because it's going to be very similar as what we've done for the hotbars hotspots. So hotspots for the inventory panel, main inventory panel. Perhaps we'll have minor inventory panels and things like that. So for iron range, hotspot row fit. So this is how many per row. And we're doing a few. So we're going to have a two-dimensional thing. So we're going to have nested for loops. So for J in range, and that wants to be the eye panels. What do we call it? The eye panels, kind of like height or rows. Did I just call it rows? I think rows, and it's got 3. So yeah, it wants to go iterate over 3 times. Oh, that worked well, didn't it? Okay. Rows. Now we need to just make sure we're indenting the inside of our nested loop. So first we create a hotspot called bud, and then is it on the hotbar? No, that's false. Is it visible therefore from the start? That should be false. Oh, and I said these should be tied together when we refactor this, but actually right now it'd be nice to see those. True. So it's nice to have those detached actually. Bud y equals hotbars y. Oh, so we're positioning it. So position. So we need to do some arithmetic with I and j. So it's x position actually. Is already organized by I, but that wants to be modular, doesn't it? That wants to be j divided by I or something like that. And that needs to be floored. I've forgotten my basic arithmetic for doing 2D tables. And so which row we're in, that is j. Oh, so I can just put j, can't I? For its height. No. That would be a number. So that's got to be multiplied by. So I've got to find the top. Oh god, I've got to find the top of the panel or the bottom. So Okay, let's get these brackets ready. I'm just going to pause it actually. Oh, and while I'm pausing it, I could think about this and then test it and then write it out. Or, no, maybe I won't. I'll just jump back in and see if I can work it out. Okay, see you in a moment. Okay, I'm back. Right. What were we even doing? Oh, yeah. Presumably, yeah, we have to sort out X and Y. Okay, so the Y position is going to the Y position is going to get bigger and bigger. If we start at the top, let's just call the top 0. It's going to get bigger and bigger. Starting at 0, then 1, and then 2, or 1, 2, 3 rows. Okay, so that's all about J. That's all about J, and that's quite simple, isn't it? That's fine. So first thing, we just need to find, okay, where's the starting position? So that's going to be the IPAN, IPANs dot Y. Now we want to go up, so that's plus half of its height. So IPANs scale Y multiplied by 0.5. So that's the start, plus, now let's go to a new line, plus no, minus, now we're going down. So we've got the top of the IPAN, minus so the total height of a hotbar. So a hotspot, I should say. So does the hotspot, yeah, have a scale X? Let's just go and have a look at the class. Item, that's what I mean. Item. So its scale X will be the same. Oh, right. So hotspot scalar. So hotspot has a scalar which is depending on the hotbar scale, and then the item scale. So each item is then going to be slightly smaller. Okay, so we've got the hotspot scalar. That's what we need. That gives us the individual height of an item, sort of. Because that wants to be, where are we? Back down here, we want to say plus, no, not bud scale X. That wants to be, oh, no, where was I? I'm in Y. Oh, this is the hotbar. That was close. I'm in the inventory panel. There I am. Okay. Hotspot scalar. Let's multiply that by 0.9 because that gives us the item height. Times what row we're on. So that's J. So if we're in the first place, it's going to be 0. And J is going to be 0. Brilliant. And then, okay, we've done Y. Now, X is going to be slightly different because we're starting from the left. Let's just see if we can get to the left first. So it's going to be the IPANs X minus the IPANs scale X divided by 2 or times 0.5. So that's the far left. Plus Yeah, the our buddy scale. Oh, this shouldn't be an item. Yeah, sorry, this should be the hotspot scalar. That's right, that's fine. It's very similar size anyway. Um, should I just say the hotspot scalar? I really should say, hotspot scalar up here. To be kind of more appropriate. So hotspot scalar times 0.5. Should it be the half? Notice I haven't done any padding yet on the y. Sorry, I'm getting confused with this. Why we've multiplied this by half? This should just be. Oh yeah, it is the whole scale there. Oh right, yeah. So that's the first position. Sorry, from the far left of our hot bar, or in this case, our inventory panel. We won't add any. Oh, we'll keep the padding because it is going to be the same. Yeah, it is going to be the same as our hot bar in terms of going left and right. Now this is the different bit. I do want to say, well, I'll keep it to bud x scale x. Well, that no, let's be brave and say it should be the hotspot scalar. Now we'd want to say just I because that's how many we go across. Oh no, that is fine, isn't it? That's right. So something's fishy. Something's not working. Anyway, it's interesting that I can't work this out as I'm talking. And so, right, so let's just run this and just see the carnage. If we see anything at all, I must say that's pretty good. That's surprisingly good. You know what I was thinking was that I was. Well, this is interesting. When I go there, okay, this is bad. We're getting some very odd behavior happening. And we're getting things popping in and out, and our items are not on top of the panel. So I can sort that out. Yeah, sorry, what I was thinking about was converting from, say, x and y coordinates, Cartesian coordinates, from a one-dimensional array or list iteration. Anyway, what have we got? I'm slightly off. I haven't added the y, half of the scale there on the y. Let's just go and fix that first of all before anything else. So yeah, I missed this line, didn't I? Or the equivalent. So it's going to be minus, I think, because we're going down. Whereas the x, I'm just going from left to right, which is plus plus plus. But Y, starting at the top, going down. And is it maybe I pan Y plus goes up? I pan scale half. So that's the very top. That's the top edge. That is the top edge of our panel. But you want to go down. So down was minus. That's right. Minus half the scale, and then minus each individual row. Okay. Perfect. So now we've just got to add the padding. Okay. So we'll call this padding underscore x. So I need padding. Oh, good. And then padding underscore y. Because they're going to be different, presumably. Maybe they're going to be the same. No, they're going to be different, aren't they? Surely. Right. So I'll just put this under here. Padding y minus that. So padding y is going to be the hotbar scale x. Oh yeah. So the difference between how many, or the difference between the total height of our panel and how many hotspots we can fit in each column, divided by 2, because we've got padding at the top, padding at the bottom. So it's going to be the IPAN scale y, IPAN scale y, and I guess I should change these to IPAN bud scale x, hotspot row fit. That should be the same. Okay, IPAN scale y minus buddy scale y. Well, that, really should be hotspot scalar. And that should be hotspot scalar if I'm being consistent. Row fit, no, so that's row fit across. So this just needs to be rows, i.e. how many hotspots in each column. So I fiddle around with a couple of things there, which may, hotspot has no attribute rows. Yeah, that's the IPAN. It's got some rows. Well done, if you spotted that. Okay, that little mistake. Right. Yeah, because I fiddle around with a few things. A scalar thing I've substituted. Lovely, that is padded correctly. That is wonderful. Right, so the next thing we've got to sort out is, okay, look at that. It's like that hotspot is not appearing for some reason. That was strange, the way that moved. Oh, and that one's now appearing. So yeah. So what's happening is something to do with, oh, can we go from the panel to the hotbar? Yes, we can. So something's happening in terms of the render queue. What UI object is appearing on top of or at the front of the queue, which we should be able to sort out. So basically we want to say first the hotbar and the panel should be at the back, so at like Q0, and then the hotspots at position 1 and then the items position 2. So all kind of sat on top of each other in layers. Let's see if I've got that the right way round. I think 0 is like the back. Let's see. So Right, so in the inventory system, we'll go to the class definitions. Here we go. So a hotspot will say its render queue, this render underscore queue equals, so a hotspot, that needs to be 1. And an item needs to be 2. So on the very top. And then, the panels and the hotbar need to be 0. So let's do that right at the end. Hotbar render queue 0. And so now the same for iPan. 0. Okay, save it and assume it's just going to work straight away. What happened there? Name render is not defined. Whoops. Where? Where did I? Oh, I just closed down the console, so I don't know. Render queue, hotbar render queue. Whoops. What? Now it's running? Oh, maybe I saved it halfway through writing something? I don't know. Okay. So interestingly, our panel looks really cool now. And remember those white, what did I call it? White box. I did in a very short amount of time, unskillfully. So I'm sure you can make this look nicer. Which reminds me, I need to make the highlighter. Where is the highlighter? Is that number 5? Go from yellow to black, I think. Yeah, you can make these look nicer. Anyway, so if I press E, I've unlocked that. Now I can. Okay, this seems to be behaving itself now. Actually, it feels better to put a grass block over there, doesn't it? There we go. Put that one there. And then I can store these here, which is quite nice. Now E, and I can run around. Great. Can I build things? Yes. So we really need that to go out of the way when we press E. So basically, we just need to toggle on visibility, whether it's visible or not. But then we also need to make the hotspots invisible and the items that are not on the hotbar invisible as well. Now we've already got ourselves fairly close to that because they've got attributes of being on the hotbar. Okay, so in the inventory system, let's just remind ourselves, down the bottom we've got our input function. There it is. Oh yeah, the highlighting thing. So let's make the highlight black. See if that looks better. Right, and here we're locking the mouse. So we want to say subject enabled. So which one's which? Because I always get mixed up, don't I? Whoops. So if the subject's enabled and we're pressing E, then we're disabling them. So this is inventory mode. Inventory mode, and this is gameplay mode. So inventory mode, we want everything to be, the inventory panel to be invisible. So iPan visible equals false. Down here, true. Even after the comment. That must have been so funny. Right, iPad visibility false in game mode, but that will make, so now what we want to do is make all of it, we want to do something like this. We want to be able to say hotspots, hotspot, we want to say toggle. We want that function to run, and that function, which doesn't exist yet, will go through all the hotspots that are not on the hotbar and say disappear please. And it'd be great if any items that you're hosting also disappear. And then it would be magical if we could just call it down here, and it would also work. I guess it would know whether to turn things off or on depending on whether the IPAN is visible. And actually, it'd be great. Can it get hold of the IPAN? Maybe. Anyway, so how are we going to do this function? Because it's in a hotspot, isn't it? Oh, we just hit an hour. Right, in our hotspot, we've got these static variables that just belong to the whole class, that don't belong to each individual instantiated hotspot. We want a similar thing, but instead of being a variable, being an entire function. So to do that, we'll do it amongst the other functions. Well, we've only got one for our hotspot, which is the definition, the initializer. But we can put it down here, and we'll say def, toggle. Now we don't need to say this because it's not a member function. It doesn't apply to each of the instantiated objects. But it needs to be what we call a static function. So I can use the decorator symbol, which is the @ sign in Python, and then I want to call this static method. There we go. So now this function is going to be static, and we want to say oh look, the hotspots and the items are being created down there. So we need to move these up, I think, to the top here, so that we can refer to them in this static method. So we want to say for, what's it going to be? A hotspot, so we'll call it H. For H in hotspots, if H dot, oh wait a minute, if you're visible, it must be game mode. No, inventory mode. So let's write that. So gameplay mode, i.e. not visible. So if H dot visible, let's try and be Pythonic. So if you're not visible, then we want to switch you visible. H dot visible equals true, and your host item, H dot item, there we go. If H dot item, so if we've got one, it's not none. H dot item dot visible equals true. Else, we want to do the opposite of that. Else, so this is gameplay mode. This is inventory mode. So gameplay, visibility wants to be false, and the item also wants to be false, and kind of disabled as well. Let's disable item, so we don't want to be able to drag secret things around. I haven't tried that out. Enable item. Maybe you won't be able to do that if they're invisible. But if we notice in the future things changing position randomly and things, it'll be because of that, I guess. And it'd be really cool in here to turn off the IPAN as well. So if IPAN visible, IPAN visible equals false, else IPAN visible equals true. Okay, so then let's just write a little comment. So, oh, I just remembered what I've done wrong. I haven't differentiated between hotbar hotspots and other ones. So, toggle non-hotbar hotspots and their items. So so we only want to do that if they're on the hotbar. So and h dot hotbar. So this needs to be an else if or elif, because hotbar items and hotspots are always visible, so we don't need to worry about those. Okay, now going back to the inventory system, we don't need to worry about the IPAN's visibility because that's going to be taken care of within this static member method. Static method, I should say. There we go. But our hotbar, oh, here we are. I haven't named this. Inventory, main inventory panel hotspots. Oh no, items. And they're at a random position. In fixpos, I wonder if it detects that it's on the hotbar, that it should be invisible. But I was just worrying about, yes, here, hotspots for the main inventory panel. Because it's not on the hotbar, these hotspots, its visibility should start off with false. Now, if I don't set that, then they'll be out of sync for the toggling, I think. Right, let's now just see what behavior we've got. Oh, looks like the items are all visible at the start. So yeah, that fixed position doesn't sort that out. So two things to look at then. So first of all, when I'm creating the inventory panel, visibility wants to be 0. Oh, visibility wants to be 0, false. And then all of the items false as well. Let's just go and have a look at fixed position. No, actually, if it's so just move back. So yeah, we shouldn't change any visibility. I guess because of the way we're doing things, which is strange, the items, like we can see now, will be visible from the start, which they shouldn't be. But we are doing things in a developing way. So if I press E, oh no, hotspot object has no attribute hotbar. What line was that on? Line 70? I think it's on hotbar that I want to say. H on hotbar. So let's just have a look at hotspots. On hotbar, that's what I should have said. Just those two lines. So I think I've saved everything. And let's run. So again, our icons, oh, none of them look. None of the 9 are on the hotbar. So press E. Lovely. So our inventory appears. Let's press G to turn off the terrain generation. It's a bit smoother. That's great. Everything's behaving as it should. Panda is being itself. Oh, if I press 1, oh look, black. That looks a lot better, doesn't it? Oh, that's fantastic. 1. E. Now all the items disappear, which is better. 2. Let's have some soil in the middle. Brilliant. If I press E again, they come back. E off, E on, E on. Brilliant. If I go there, nope. Oh, this is really working well. Okay, so we've got now our inventory panel, which works alongside our hotbar. We've improved the look of that. So it's a bit clearer to see what we're selecting. Oh, and we've got earthquakes. Lovely. Hope you enjoyed that video. Again, in the comments, let me know if you've got any requests or suggestions or corrections. Right, inventory bar. Static method, we use toggle behavior. Done. Brilliant. Just while I'm here, tutorial, my goodness, 18 notes. Possibly we need, what did I call them? Like mind block particles that pick up, so we can pick them up for inventory, like in Minecraft. So, oh yeah, my homework, I need to go and play some Minecraft to observe how that kind of works, to do something similar. Well, that will probably be the whole thing. There'll be a lot to do within that, but it'll be nice to be thinking about trees, because I did them in the previous series of videos, so maybe I should go and watch that that video from the old series and then see how I did it, and then try some things in here. But yeah, I'm thinking rocks. I don't think you have that in Minecraft. You don't have like rocks. You've got just like rock blocks, but not actual rocks. I wonder what that'd look like. Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.